So I'm just doing a very quick assembly to give us an idea of what we're dealing with. So, well, give you an idea. I know what I'm dealing with. I've done a few of these now. We're looking at these Dinos again, bit of a progress report. And if you remember, I've talked about how rare they are and how increasingly rare they're getting week on week. So it's not that they're disappearing, it's that I keep forgetting how many they made. So my mate put me right on it, explained the figures to me, which I'd taken to granted anyway. What they are is 2.4 spiders, these are 2 of them. They made 424 of those. Now, as I said, these were assembled at the Maranello Ferrari factory, so people feel they're more of a Ferrari. And I sort of compare them to how rare the Stratos is, because the Stratos is such a hallowed car. And I keep failing to mention, of course, the Stratos has the same engine, because it has the 246 Ferrari Dino engine. So, the answer to Stratos is they made somewhere between 457 to 492, depending where you get your figures from. So certainly FIAT Dino's rarer. Let's look at the 2000 Spider. I said about 1500. Well, I was far out there because they're actually only made 1158, of which 30 were crushed because they were destroyed in testing. So they crash tested them. There's a great picture of them all in a field, all smashed up. Well, it's not a great picture if you it might make you feel a bit queasy, but it's a picture of them all smashed up. So that's it, that's the figures. So yeah, rarer, than a couple of weeks ago, and rarer than a few weeks before that. And hopefully that number's changing slightly. Well, it's not, is it? Because that's how many they made. I don't know how many exist and still exist. But the reality of it is that, the existence of them, the survival rate will be fairly high for the Spiders because they were always such loved cars. And I'm bringing them back from the dead effectively, aren't we? We're resurrecting these things. So they, should continue to be more and more of them available and usable and so on as they're restored. So that's what we're doing. So let's look at the sills, which I've been manufacturing for this one. I've also been doubling them up on this because, as I said, I've been using this car to create patterns for the panels I need to make for this car. And as I said before, I have lots of patterns for things because I've been making these things for quite a few years now. But I sort of try to finesse them each time I make a set and try and, if I can get more information off of a car to make the patterns better that I've got, to make the panels to a superior quality. And that's what I've been doing. I've been upping my game a bit on these, partly because they're 2.4s, and as I described, the sills are slightly different to the 2 litre in the internal structure of them where they fit the rear floor. So that's what I'm doing. So I'll go and get the sills, bring them back, and we can have a look at them. These are the very lower parts. These are the upper sort of boxing plates, I guess you could call those. Or landing panels is probably what I'd call them, is a good description for them. And these are the inner boxing plates which form the structure of the sills. And then we have an outer sill goes over them and various other. This is just the beginnings of it, really. Then we have a step that goes onto these as well, which I'll get. So these are the steps, for want of a better description, a sill step, which is what you see when you open the door. That slot's all been manufactured, and I've got the brackets as well, been done for them, and so on. Outer sills I've got to make yet, but that comes a bit later on anyway, because it will be a while till we do them. So that's that bit. So I thought what would be useful is to have a look at how they fit on the car to get a feel for it, and then have a look on a diagram that I've done to illustrate how it, would work. Right, so first off, you have this inner sill area, which is a bit fatter than the others. It's normally anywhere between, I think it's up 1.5 up to 2 mil these, but anyway, that's that. No, I think that's 1.5 mil that. Anyway, so that's that bit. So that's quite heavy. Get some grips, and I'll make a stab at assembling it so we can see what we've got. So I want to start with one of these sort of lower section. Now this is in, I think this is 1.5, isn't it? Let's measure it to see. We'll talk through the measurements and dimensions of them as we go. Actually, I'm not going to talk through the dimensions, just the measurements. Now this is I think this is at 1.2. Right, so 1.2. So this one fits on here on the bottom, on the very lower, and then that kicks back and joins with there. Now I've got to rebuild this area yet, but we'll be seeing stuff about that in the future. We won't worry about that today. So just clip this on so we can see what we've got. Now you saw it had drain holes in it. That's obviously to let any moisture out that gets into there. You know, we don't want anything building up inside these sills, do we? It's all good for them. So that one goes on there. Get some other grips, other style grips to get the next piece in. So this one joins on here on the bottom, like that. That has to join onto this edge here. So I'll try and clip that on like that. So that would join on there like that, and then this edge joins onto it behind here, which I think we looked at this before. Let's get this clipped on so we can see what we've got. Now this is just a quick assembly, obviously this is not. You'd take a lot more time over it before you actually weld these on. So I'm just doing a very quick assembly to give us an idea of what we're dealing with. So, well, give you an idea, I know what I'm dealing with. I've done a few of these now. So yeah, so that goes onto that edge there. That one goes onto that edge there. And that goes on there like that. Right, and then we've got what I call the landing panel. Then that has to join on here, onto this edge here, like this. So that effectively joins on there like that. Now let me see if I can get some grips to do that with. If we can just click that on. So this has to fit on this edge here. That's the idea of it. So I might, be careful, get that in there. Now let's get a set that I'm going to close the set up. Do that. There you go, clips on like that. Now, obviously it's going to need a bit of moving around to get it to fit nicely. But you get the idea of what I'm trying to do here. So, that would all clip on like that. Now, the next piece would be one of these, and that would go across from that edge there onto here. But obviously I've got these grips in the way. But you can see that sort of forms the finisher there. Now maybe if we're careful, if I took this front pair off, it'll tend to come away a bit at the front there, but that's all right because this is just for illustration purposes. So if I do that and then pop that on here. Okay, so there you get the idea. So that one tucks in behind the wing there. That would meet the A post in here, and it'll go on there like that. Now effectively that will finish like this. Now let's see if I can clip this on quickly just for the purposes of what we're doing. No, there you go, there you go. So that's the idea, is that fit there, then it joins on this one. Then the outer sill joins onto that as well and goes down to here, which creates your finish. And then along here goes the stainless steel trim. And then these cutouts here, that's where the trim clips go. So in the back of the end of the sill trims, you have a little finisher so you can sort of effectively put a nut on behind it and hold it on. But you also have these clips that go on here. And then these would line up with cutouts in these, which I've yet to do. I'll sort them out, once I've got the datums right. And then again, it has the same thing nibbed out at the top of the outer sill, and the same on the bottom of the wing, and the same on the bottom of the rear quarter. So that's how they assemble. So you get the sort of picture of what it is. Now, there's a long way to go from there. This is just part of it. But before you'd finish that, before you get any further, you have these. So you have one of these goes where the B post would go, up in here. So this is a finisher, that goes up in there like that, which carries the sort of structure back down from your B post and, takes the sort of stresses and carries them into here, load bearing effectively. And then you have this one up the front here, goes on there, which I'm in the process of making. So I made those, I made a pair of those, which we can have a look at on the bench here. So I made a pair of those, both sides of those, so they're done. I've got patterns for these, so that was that. And then my A-post, that's the A-post, that's an original one that I took off of a car. You see just the bottom's missing. But, it's taken me a long time to find a car with one that good on it to use as a pattern. Normally they've been replaced badly. An example of which I'll show you in a minute. So that's my pattern. I've been able to make a pattern for making them. And there you see I'm starting to make them. So there's one I've cut out, and there's the beginning of cutting one out. So that's that. So that's that bit. And then if I show you one of these off another car, you'll see what I've been up against. Why it takes so long to get decent patterns together. And why most people wouldn't be able to do this stuff, because they wouldn't have any access to seeing how it should look. This is a very good example of what you find. So, this is a fairly good stab at trying to repair something. They've made one of these up. Sometimes they don't even bother making one. So that is supposed to be that. So if you cut that open and found that in there, you'd think, oh, that's what it should look like. Well, it doesn't, does it? It looks like this. And they've made this out of two pieces. They've made that bit. They've made some folds at least. I think they fold it, yes. They've made that in one piece. And they made this go over it. Unless that is a bit of the original. I mean, that could even be the original, couldn't it? And they've just plated this bit over the top. I don't know. Although there is... No, I think they made this up. Anyway, that's something they've made. But it isn't very nicely done. And you can see here, that's the original boxing plate. That's the landing panel that I'm talking about, and that's the one they've made. And then they sort of made a bit, they put a bit in here and then a bit in there. And, this is the sort of stuff you're up against. That's what you'd normally find. See, so there's a plate they've let in. So there's the original continuing across here. And it's all sort of blobbed up there and stuff. And then you can see in here under the A-post. So they've sort of encapsulated some of the rust in it again, which is quite normal. And this was a nice car that this come out of. But yeah, you cut into it and find that, which is what most people would find, or something similar or worse. And what do you do with it? How do you know what it's supposed to look like? So that's why I take such care to make these patterns up when I can get to them, when I can get, to make a better pattern I do. So an example of what was there with this, let me show you what we were working with when we took it apart. So, this is stuff I've removed from it. So this was this panel here. So you can see that, that looks fairly reasonable. You wouldn't really know. Then underneath there is, that panel. So let's deconstruct this as we go to look at what we're dealing with. So that's one of those. That's that bit. This is this part, isn't it? You see? That's that. That's where it's full of tar. Do you remember they filled this whole car up with tar? Look, great big lump of it in there. You see? So that's that panel. So they had that. This is the outer sill, the original outer sill, and they just hacked it across with the chisel or something to hack that out. And then there's the blobs of weld where they'd welded what they had made a boxing plate out of. So that's that bit. That's covered these two, you know, that and the landing panel. So let's go get this off. And now we can look at the next bit along. So yeah, we've dealt with those with various patterns I've got and using some reference on this, some from that and some from the past. And then here is that panel. That's all we've got. That's what was there. So they've hacked it all off with a chisel all the way along, all missing. All of our strengtheners are gone, nothing to work with here, nothing to know, you know, so you wouldn't know what they'd look like. And I'll just go and grab what they actually use. That's all that tar again. You see all backfilled with tar? The whole thing was filled up with tar. So once this come off, once I took the outer seals off, that was all that was left of that panel to work with. So how would you know about any of ththese details? You know, you could it's there, but it's not enough to work with, is it? Really, you know. And of course the swages, yeah, you could make a stab at there was a swage there. There's a tang of something there, so you'd think, well, maybe something was there, but what was there? You know, nothing to work with. I'll get what they put in there so you can see what we're up against. There you go. That's what they've put in. That heavy gauge bit of galvanised, which is strong, but you know, that's what you find when you got in there. I mean, that's not going to give you anything to work with, is it? It's got none of the lower detail, which is all this. And it's just got these little MIG blobs here where they'd put an outer sill on, which was completely the wrong shape. Which, you know, if you're following this, you'll have seen the sort of original inspection video. If not, go back and have a look at it. And then look at the original stripping down videos of it, and you'll see me cutting all this off and exposing all this stuff. So yeah, so that was there, and that was sort of wedged over the top of it like that. So that was sort of over that bit, sort of like that. And that was behind it. So I took this off, took the outer seals off, then took that off to find that. And all this tar, and that went off to the blasters with that on. I didn't take that off of it because you know, there was enough there to get behind it and see what's what. So that's the sort of thing you're up against, you know, that's what you find. So, and I say it's not just this car. They're all like it, sir. No, they are. They've all had a life and they're all like it. Another little sort of quirky thing whilst we're here is you see these landing panels have these swages in them. I was making that tooling up, wasn't I, last week, which I alluded to. We might have a better look at that another day. So look, there's a pair of those. Now, someone's made a mistake, haven't they? Look, that swage is that way, that swage is that way. And what's happened there then? What's happened there is that's how they are. Now, you wouldn't fathom that, would you? You'd think they'd both be either this way, either up or down on either. You know, you wouldn't think one was one way and one was other. That's the way they are. So they must, and these also, these taper. See the thinner this end and they flare out to the front. So effectively the car widens towards the front. You struggle to see it, but it is a thing. So I don't know if you can see that. We're looking at it like that. But if you look at the amount of material there, opposed to the amount of material there, you get the idea. You can see what I'm on about. That's how they are. That's how they're supposed to be. So that's exactly how they're supposed to be. Most people wouldn't know that. And if you was just doubling up, making one side, you know, and just doing another one for the other side, you wouldn't think it's that way round, you know, that they've done the swages that way. But that's that. That covers that bit. And then I thought what we'd do then is I thought we'd have a look at this diagram and I'll talk you through what we've just been looking at. So I've just drawn this out this afternoon. So that's this side of the car that we've been working on. So that's the bit on the car itself that we were looking at. That's our inner sill, you know, that's the heavy bit that was still attached to the car. This is the outer boxing plate, and that's the swages in it, those swaged holes. That's that one with that detail on it. And that's the very lower where it comes across like that and joins it. So it joins onto it there, spot welds across there. Then spot welds to this one, and then that's our landing panel coming off of it that comes out to here, and then there's our sill step effectively going across there, and there's our outer sill, which we haven't got one of those yet because I've yet to make it, and that's where I say that chrome trim goes over. So that's three pieces spot welded together there, then it's spot welded here together, there, there, through here. And now we look at the floor. So the floor pan at the beginning, at the end of the sill is like this. It has a void in it. So you spot welds through there and it goes across like that and then dips down and across like that. And then on the underside of it, you have the outrigger at the front of the car, which comes across like this and then joins the floor there. And then adjacent to the outrigger, attached to it, is effectively like a jacking point, a reinforcing, which goes there, like that. Although they do have another jacking point as well, which goes across here effectively, like a little box that you sort of fit, it sort of goes, you flatten this up, you bend that over, which is how they did it at FIAT, then you have a little box that goes in there like that, and it's at a slightly jaunty, weird angle, so it sort of looks like that, for want of a better sort of drawing. But I'm just drawing it quickly. I'll grab one to show you, because that's all that sort of to scale effectively. So you can sort of see what they are. Now the jacking points on this have been deleted, they've got rid of them. But there you go, I'll get this and you can sort of see what I'm on about. That's your little jacking points. These little things, they have them on coupes as well as spiders, but they fit in a different manner. So that literally goes across there, sort of like that. Fits in there. So you flatten the bottom of the sill over, you bash that over, and it welds along there, there's a little seam weld along there. Then this end, again, there's a little seam weld there, and it just sort of tucks up in there like that. Now that's an original one. Yeah, very valuable, precious piece. Obviously I'm not using that. That's an original one I flattened out just to give me a pattern. So I can soon make these up. These are 2mm. These are definitely 2mm, I remember, because they would take a bit of bashing round sort of thing. Even that one, you know, when you see it's eroded, it's thin because it's all rusted away. But yeah, they're 2mm. So that's them. So I can make them, they're not a problem. So yeah, you get the idea. Do you need to look at on the car? Perhaps you do. Let's look on the car. So, that section there is that area there. Now obviously this has got a return on it, and I'm not drawing the return, I'm just drawing that bit. So that's that bit. That's your jacking point. Sorry, that's your outrigger. And there's what's left of a jacking point down here. So that's that bit and that bit. Then the floor goes up here. Well, the floor's not here because we cut it out. You see, we cut the floor out, but it would be up here and then dips down to meet this along this edge. Got to make new jacking points. That's got to be done yet. Then that panel there is that one. This one is that one. That one is that one. This one is that one. And we haven't got an outsill yet because, as I said, I haven't made it yet. But yeah, you get the idea. Isn't that lovely? Could be in the Guggenheim, couldn't it? Anyway, I hope you've been paying attention. How many Dinos did they make? I can't remember. I have to look at my notes. But I hope you've been taking notes because I'm going to test you next week. Anyway, I'm going home. Good night. That's a wrap. Home time. Too cold.